Wow, thank you for that generous introduction, and I'm very humbled to be here. Um, as a matter of fact, that's one of the topics of this thing of where does this confidence come from to even think that I could speak. Because if you knew me when I was uh, a teenager, you would see my knees knocking. I mean, I couldn't conjugate verbs in Spanish class standing in front of the class without everybody laughing at my shaking knees. So this is truly a miracle that I can speak in front of a group, um, and sometimes have fun with it because I'm not doing it alone. I know that my higher power is always with me. So that's really kind of what this whole journey has been for me, is the confidence that I have in my higher power has brought out the confidence in me. As a matter of fact, I mean, quickly, this has nothing to do with my talk today, but I was thinking about watching people in love. And one of the things, and lots of love songs are about it, but we can conquer the world. When people are in love, they tend to think like, ooh, I'm in love and I can do anything. And I have all this confidence because they know that they just feel so loved. And today I have that, with my higher power, with God, whom I choose to call God. And that's another seminar that I did a while back about the whole God word, because I was raised with a lot of religious abuse. And I had to completely redefine God. But that's another topic. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact. I'm going to be focusing on the word conscious. Conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for the knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. And then later we'll be talking about Promise 11. I trust the guidance I receive from my higher power and come to believe in my own capabilities. So, and I hope I've thought about this. The slides might not reflect it, but my hope is that we'll have time to do a meditation, a step 11 meditation that I use for myself and would like to share with the group before we move on to the second part. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is just going to be a quick overview because a lot of people have already heard this. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. My mother was an active alcoholic, and my father was a workaholic, sex addict, and narcissist. So an active addict is always a narcissist. And my father didn't need, through his addictions, but he was just a narcissist. And so I became the scapegoat for them, but also I became they called it the rock. My parents both referred to me in my childhood as their rock, which is pretty sick. So that's who I became, and I felt separated. My father would even refer to my siblings, and thus the term surrogate spouse, as the kids. How are the kids? And he did this until I was in my 30s. And I finally had some therapy, and I said, I don't know, why don't you call them and find out? Get your own relationship with them. Spirituality versus religion. I've heard it said that a person who is afraid of hell is religious, and a person who is spiritual has already been there. And take that with a grain of salt, but religion was, to me, man-made. All the rules, a bunch of, in my religion, it was a bunch of guys wearing black robes that made all these really stupid decisions. And even as a child, I didn't believe them. And then I was raised in the schools by the nuns, who were just very strictly and violently reinforcing these rules. So when I was a little girl, 7, we were learning our catechism, and the nun kept telling us about limbo, which of course doesn't exist now. The men have changed their minds and it doesn't exist. But back then, it was a pretty scary place. And we were all given a little vial of holy water in a big responsibility. With this little thing came a huge responsibility that if we were ever to see an accident or somebody dying, we were supposed to, or in threat of dying, of being killed, we were supposed to not call for help, but run to them and quickly sprinkle the holy water on them and baptize them so that they wouldn't go to a place called limbo. Limbo was defined to me as a place where even God didn't exist. It was just this giant waiting room because you hadn't been baptized, and you're just going to wait there for eons until God decided to come back. Well, I was quite angry as a little child, and I yelled at the nun and told her she was wrong. And I said, Jesus's dad would never do that, because I was also being taught at home at the time about all these starving babies in Africa. And they didn't have missionaries, and they didn't know about Jesus. And how could they didn't have holy water. It's not their fault. And she said, she again, quite violently, whacked me on the hands a few times. And when she saw the defiance in my face, she stopped and she said, well, that's just the way it is. So at that young age, I realized that there were something wrong with religion, because it totally didn't match up with the God that I intuitively knew in my heart as a little girl. And didn't mean that I didn't continue to live the rest of my life in terror of being in limbo. And I pretty much lived there a good part of my life now that I can look back. But it was a terrifying moment. And my spiritual recovery started, I mean, really my conscious contact started when I was diagnosed at 40 with metastasized breast cancer. And I won't go into that whole long thing, but the bottom line is, even though I felt so amazingly close and I had this beautiful relationship with my higher power, it didn't stop me from making a house that we were buying and my husband my higher power. So it was like I had two gods, you know, the God that was going to heal me, and then the God that I was going to deal with on this planet. That's the only way I can describe it. CoDA, when I finally came into CoDA many years later, I was so mad that I didn't know about it earlier, but I finally started having and beginning to redefine my relationship, who God was. I had to redefine God. I literally had to throw out anything, any pre-existing ideas that I had about God, because most of them were lies. And then I had to be, because I didn't want to be honest with that God. Not that he didn't know everything that was going on. Oh, by the way, you're going to hear me say he a lot. I do believe that my higher power has male and female energy, but it's just a shorter way of speaking. So not to offend anybody. The first thing that changed in my relationship with my higher power was being honest with myself and being honest with God. And that's what it took. I'm gonna let's go to the next slide. I don't want to spend any more time here. We're just gonna move on to number 4. I'm now going to refer to the blue book, which is the main text of CoDA. I hope everybody has one and uses it. I know everybody talks about the green book, but our big book, if you will, is this CoDA, Codependence Anonymous main text. On page 71, I sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God. This is the beginning of step 11. In the beginning, some of us needed direction. We weren't clear where prayer left off and meditation began. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening for God's guidance. How we meditate and pray is an individual decision because our conscious contact with God will be continually improving. Our methods might change as we grow spiritually. Yeah, that's one. Praying only knowledge for God's will for us and the power to carry that out. We learned that the purpose of step 11 suggests we improve our own bond with God. If this is the important relationship, the most important relationship in my life, how much time do I spend thinking about our relationship and communicating with my higher power? When I'm in love, I just want to hear the other person breathe on the phone. I mean, that's pretty high school, but that's what it was like. You know, I don't, so I kind of want to keep that image in our head. So do I do that with my higher power? How do my expectations exceed my commitments? And this is my expectations of myself and of my higher power. If I have resistance, do I ask for awareness and willingness? Go ahead to the next slide. So I wanted to talk about something, and then, but before I go into this page, I'm just gonna, I had no problem talking to God in prayer, but listening, which still is a problem for me. I keep being reminded that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yeah, for a reason. But listening, how was I going to do that? When I first came to CoDA, I had 5 books. I wish I had some here that I used as daily meditations every morning. And every morning, at the time of the house I was living in, I would carry them out to the patio table with my cup of coffee, and I would dutifully read them in this certain order. And I would try to meditate a little bit on the words, but mainly I was just doing this reading. And I thought I was being so good, trying to earn the privilege of hearing God. Because if I read these books every day, I was showing God, how committed I was. And I had this routine down. But I thought, this magical thing of listening, hearing God had to be earned. And I wasn't even really conscious of that. Then I got really honest with God and myself. And one morning, I just could not concentrate on what I was reading. I was reading the same sentence over and over again, and I couldn't focus. So I remembered I just pushed all the books away, and I laid my head down on the table, and I just said, I'm so sorry, God, I just can't do this today. And then I heard, then why don't you lay back and let me love you? And I sat up like, what? What do you mean? Just lay back. And I actually was like, oh, I'm crazy. And then I thought, well, that thought, that voice, that clear message certainly didn't come from me. And so I did. I obeyed, and I laid my head back on the chair, and I felt the sun warming my face. A very soft, gentle breeze came and just blew over my hair, almost like somebody was just caressing me with their hand. And a beautiful bird was sitting in a tree right behind where I was and started singing this amazing, loud, clear song. And I just cried because I could not even take in all of the love that I was feeling and I was trying to take in. It was painful for me to take in this love, that God was shining the sun down on me and caressing me with the breeze and having this beautiful bird sing this amazing song, not just a little trill, but a song that went on for a couple of minutes. And I noticed the pain And I sat with the pain, and I realized how hard my heart was and how difficult it was for me to truly receive love. And that God's love is so huge. That's the other awareness I had, that I really am not physically capable of receiving all of it. But I sure can certainly receive more. And the thing that shocked me the most is that all the love that I was feeling, as overwhelming as it was and painful to receive, and I was filled with so much gratitude because I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to do a thing. I just had to lay back and let God love on me. And that in itself was a message for me that how much resistance I have to making time for that, to just lay back and let God love me. This was a profound spiritual awakening for me. I didn't have to earn love. I couldn't deserve love. It simply existed. The only thing required of me was to be still and listen openly. So God taught me how to meditate. Just lay back and let me love you. Be open to receiving my love. Open your heart to me, and I will pour into you what you need. I would like to share a simple meditation that I use, if you are open to it, at the end of this next little section. But that's going to be the theme of our meditation. I would like us to just intentionally breathe with God. So this page is from, again, it's all of my my quotes are from the CoDA Blue Book, the main text, Codependence Anonymous. Remembering that codependence is a spiritual dilemma is crucial to our recovery. To avoid the possibility of returning to our former codependent way, we must pursue a greater relationship with our higher power on a daily basis. If we are unsure how to pray effectively, asking God directly to teach us will surely bring us what we need. If we speak from the heart and practice daily, we will develop our own personal, unique, and effective communication with God. Praying only for God's will for us may be difficult, but it means we must be willing to let go of others, including myself, I might add, and trust the outcome for our lives and their lives and ours to God. We must release our control to God. This to me is a reference to, of course, step 3. But even in my praying, I can be focused on someone else. Please, God, save so-and-so. Please, God, change this person. Please, God, whatever. I come like a begging child. And that is not, God wants a grown-up relationship with me. I have to participate. Yes, he's going to love me as a 5-year-old. Any parent is going to love a handicapped child who basically stays 5 for the rest of their lives. But when I can have a more mature relationship, that's so enriching for God and for me. So it's a two-way street. This is a dynamic relationship. And so I have my bits, I have what I need to do, and all I have to do is listen. Because when we're praying only for God's will, which was hard, because, and I'll just tell you a quick thing. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and it was really pretty bad. And I was calling my sponsor, and even she was like, oh boy. And then she got this kind of, I could hear the grin on her face, and she said, well, you know what? Let's just sit back right now and let God surprise us. And I was like, no, 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 please, I don't want God to surprise me. And she laughed and said, Anne, wrong higher power. I was like, oh, yeah. That's the higher power from my childhood, who I thought was punishing, and all these things were happening because I was bad somehow, or that I did something wrong. Even when I make mistakes, my loving higher power uses those mistakes. I learn from them. I don't have to be afraid of making mistakes any longer. So, but I do have to release, because my thinking is so narrow and so limited that I'm not even giving God a chance. When I really let go and let God just have the attitude that I'm going to let God surprise me, and I have an attitude of expectation for things that are good for me. Wow, it's a game changer as far as attitude in life. Okay, so let's go to 6. The other thing that I've learned by working these steps, I've learned to be honest with myself and others who are trustworthy. This is discernment. It took time for me to believe in a loving higher power. That's what I was talking about. That I could trust in all things, good and bad. This is when the doors opened. Actually, my heart opened to myself, and I could be honest about how I felt and what I had been taught to believe in, and share these with God. That was a horrible thing I was taught as a little girl. Shameful and blasphemous. And now they laugh about it. Ha ha ha, remember when we had limbo? Yeah, it's not funny. The more open and honest I was, the more I could hear God. So as I shared my pain, as I shared my fear, as I shared my anger, everything, I could have a more honest relationship with God. God can take it. I was mad when I didn't realize I had so much anger towards that God. And it was through that honesty of me sharing with my, as I will call it, my new higher power. It was the same higher power all along. It's just that my teaching of who that person or that being was so wrong. But as a little girl, I knew that they were wrong. I knew that the nuns were wrong and the priests were wrong and my parents were wrong. Yeah, so when I went home, my parents said, whack, I love you. It's like, yeah, I'm not falling for that. I don't think that's love. And if it is, I don't want anything to do with it. So remembering that codependence is a spiritual dilemma. Did we do this one already? Yes. Well, I do remember, I'll read it again, but remembering that codependence is a spiritual dilemma is crucial to our recovery. To avoid the responsibility of returning to our former codependent way, we must pursue a greater relationship with a higher power on a daily basis. This is forming new habits. If we are still unsure of how to pray effectively, asking God, God taught me how to meditate. Ask God directly to teach us, and He'll surely bring us what we need. If we speak from the heart, sharing everything, all of our feelings, all of our fears, all of our emotions, and practice daily, we will develop our own personal, unique, and effective communication with God. He wants that intimate, unique relationship with each of us. Praying only for God's will for us may be difficult. It means we must be willing to let go of others and trust the outcome for their lives and ours. We must release our control to God. Okay, 7. There are many forms of meditation. Finding one that fulfills our needs may take a little time. Whatever the form, it's important to allow ourselves to feel a heartfelt and spiritual connectedness to our higher power. By doing this daily to improve our conscious contact with God, We must become aware of God's presence in all aspects of our lives. We begin to see and hear answers to our prayers through surprising sources. And that's what I love. The sponsor always says, let God surprise you. Okay, number 8. I call this the gift of discipline, new habits, which, by the way, was one of my anagrams for God. G-O-D, gift of discipline. I have an AM and PM. These are just me, you guys. I have an AM and PM quiet time every morning before my feet hit the floor, and every night when I get into bed. I check in with my higher power before I get out, and again when I get out of bed before, in the morning. I just take that time to let God love me and my little girl. And I'm going to share something super personal. What I do, because I'm a visual person and I use pillows. I have a body pillow that I hug in front of me. I lay on my side. I'm hugging my little girl, and I have another one behind me, and I'm spooning with my higher power. My higher power is spooning with me and my little girl and healing me. And I actually say that. I know that you are working in me and loving me 24/7, even when I'm not aware of it. God's love is always pouring down on me, always. I'm the one that holds up the umbrella. I'm the one that gets distracted by stuff. So to me, this is a very important time that I invite my little girl to be with me, because she was the one that taught me. She knew all along who our real higher power was. She had the courage to face those nuns, and they were scared. Checking in with God throughout the day. I bring my higher power with me in the car, at the grocery store, everywhere. God uses people, and I never know how God will surprise and bless me, or when I will be used to bless others. I look for it now and have come to expect it. Even when bad things happen, I know that God will use it for good. I just don't get to know why all the time. And this comes a little bit to the, how do I know? Well, I think it comes later. How do I know whether I'm in God's will or not? That's what I mean by bringing to the grocery store, shopping, whatever, because I might see something that boy, that looks good. And I want to buy it. And I'll get that little sandpapery feeling right in my pit of my stomach. And it's like, oh, Or if I'm trying to do something and it feels like I'm shoving a square peg in a round hole, I'm not in God's will. I can just sense it. It's just something that's happening for me more and more. When I go to try and do something and everything is smooth and the parking spaces are there and I don't have to work that hard at it, then I know, oh, I'm in the flow. So that's why I consciously bring my HP with me everywhere. Triggers, when my emotions run high, which is only a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, I check in with God for discernment and guidance. Sometimes I need to remove myself from the scene until I have a chance to talk it over with him. This provides clarity, a new perspective, and a sense of serenity, because 99% of the time when this happens, I have either abandoned myself, my inner child, or my boundaries are being pushed, and God teaches and helps me to protect myself to grow and learn from this event. When I first started learning about standing up for myself and maintaining boundaries, it wasn't pretty because I had to use anger, and I hadn't used anger before. I wasn't good at it. I was learning what righteous anger was versus just plain old anger. And so righteous anger is the right use of anger, but it never gets over a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, because I know I'm using it for right use, meaning I'm protecting myself, my little girl, and I am setting a boundary with that person. If they continue to push the boundary, then I have choices to make. And then I let them know I'm going to have to remove myself from the situation. I might even have to remove myself from the relationship. But then I have confidence in doing that because I know that this is a person who is no longer trustworthy, and I don't want relationships with people that are not trustworthy. So this is the gift of discipline. Okay, 9. This also creates a new attitude. I'm here. This is one of my mottos. I'm here just for the spiritual. Before I do this, there's another motto, and I thought I added it, but I guess not. When I first was diagnosed with cancer, and my dad had made a big donation, and this Mother Superior lady wrote to me and said, we're not praying for you to get well, we're praying for you to accept God's will. Well, of course, I wanted his money back. But what I came to was, I just came up with, and I looked up at God and said, well, I'm going to assume that we're on the same page until I hear otherwise. And that is pretty much how I live my life. Because I don't get a burning bush or a big booming voice from the sky every day saying, this is what you're supposed to do today. It doesn't happen. And good luck waiting for it. So I'm just here for my spiritual education. It's so easy for me to get distracted by stories in my head that usually promote fear, or by anticipation of what I think will or will not happen. Always my control issues. It's always my control issues. Trying to play God in my life, which is so sad because when I think about it, I am so limited. My thinking is so limited. God is infinite. I am cutting myself off from the infinite. And there's so much more out there. So if I just want to stay living my life like what I can perceive and what I can accept and what I understand, especially what I understand, how boring is that? It's sad. So I'm glad I'm not hopefully doing that as much as I did anymore. And of course, playing God, if it, in my life it only happens in my mind. It's all an illusion anyway. But it used to make me feel safe. So now I've redefined safety as letting go and know that I'm in God's loving hands and that I'm in that flow. Wow, that's a whole lot better than I can't create a universe. Anyway, life is more fun, adventurous, and entertaining when I let go and live with an open heart and open mind. I should have put in parentheses, this is my gift of delight. This is really living life as opposed to just surviving life. When I live my life consciously in contact with God, wow. How fun is that? How adventurous is that? When I stay in my head and see life only on my terms, it is so limiting. My little brain, while very smart and useful, is no match for the creator of all things. But it still likes to try. That's my humanness. Fear is a reminder that I need God, that I need to surrender, and that I need to trust. Today, I know with all my heart, mind, and soul that my higher power loves me more than I am capable of comprehending. This knowing gives me the confidence to trust and to discern if what I'm feeling is legitimate fear or could it be excitement. I often, because these two feelings are the same inside my body, my nervous system, when I feel fear and when I get excited, it feels the exact same way to my nervous system and my body. So my brain immediately goes to, uh-oh, this is fear. Uh-oh, warning, warning, Will Robinson. So then I have to pause and say, well, maybe I'm excited, and maybe it's a little of both. Even when I make mistakes and I'm not really living, if I'm not making them, which is true. I know that God will use my mistakes and let me know what I need to change and who I need to make amends to, starting with myself and God. I had to make amends to my little girl the other day. I'm trying to be more conscious with her as well. I've been working on a project, and the days are getting shorter. And I looked up, all of a sudden it was dark. And I had promised myself and my little girl, because she loves walking in the evenings. And it was too late. And I could feel this, this abandonment, this sense of loneliness. It's like, I got gypped. And so I had to make amends to her right away and say, I'm so sorry, honey, I got distracted. It's not that my work is more important than you. And then I had to make another promise, and so I'll do better tomorrow because I'm going to make mistakes. And she's very forgiving. God bless her. A lot like my higher power. And that's what I mean by letting me know what I need to change. Usually it's new habits. God is thrilled when I share my thoughts, feelings, desires with him/her. She wants a loving, grown-up relationship with me. It is a partnership. I do what I can do, and she helps me do what I cannot. I cannot give these talks on my own. I just can't. I know that so I know that I am with my higher power as I do these. And I know that when I'm being used by God, to me, there is no greater feeling. There's no more in love feeling for me than knowing that I'm in that space. And it's thrilling. It's thrilling. All righty, next slide. Confidence. Well, I guess we could. So here's my question. I don't know where we are on time, but I was hoping to do because I was talking about the 11-step meditation, and I was really hoping to do it because sometimes when we wait and do it at the end, a lot of people might bug out. So maybe what we could do here is go to slide 12, but I want to make sure that we have a good 5 minutes or so. Take a breath. Okay, sit in your chair. I want you to feel the support even before you close your eyes. Get comfortable. Feel how comfortable you are. And then slowly, when you are sitting comfortably, slowly close your eyes. Feel the support of the chair holding you. Feel the support against your back. Feel your weight supported as you sit. Feel the support of the earth below your feet. Feel the support of the whole world underneath you. You are being held. You are supported. You are safe. Slowly inhale and feel the expansion in your body. And slowly exhale and feel the contraction in your body. As you inhale and exhale, feel the connection between your breathing and the expansion and contraction of the universe. We are connected to all things as we inhale and exhale. God created us from this breath. As we inhale and exhale, we are expanding and contracting with the universe. We are breathing with God. Relax your mind in the silence, only focusing on your breathing. Thoughts will come. This is normal. Let it be. Do not be annoyed or give any emotional charge to the thoughts. Simply disregard them. As the thoughts come, simply let them pass by like a leaf floating on the wind. If you find your mind begin to follow the thought, simply return your attention to your breathing. It is your intention that is important. It is your intention to spend this time with God. This is my time with you, God. I will keep my mind and my heart open. I will be still, only focusing on this breath that you have given me and that I give to you. I ask you to be with me as I breathe in and exhale. I am consciously breathing with God. I give and I receive. We are together here in the silence. This time is just for us, breathing together, being in silence. When you hear the sound of my voice again, gently come out of the meditation and open your eyes. From the fragments of the universe, you breathed a breath of life to create wholeness. Now, look upon my brokenness and breathe wholeness in me. Well, this is probably a good time for a break as everybody kind of comes out of their meditation. It was a short one, but it's amazing to me every time I meditate. Sometimes it feels like I've been doing it for 20 minutes. Sometimes it feels like I've been doing it for 30 seconds. It's always different. So, depends on resistance, I guess. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I hope those of you that could hang in there with the meditation enjoyed it and could see how simple it can be. That was only a little over a 3-minute meditation. So it doesn't take long. It's mainly, as I say, the intent of just spending that time and creating that space consciously to be with my higher power. I understand in my head that my higher power is always with me, but I don't always remember that because I'm human. And a squirrel goes by. Ooh, there's a squirrel. My attention is easily distracted. So this is just a gentle reminder that I can create this space and this intention and bring a more conscious. I guess I would just say that for me, it's bringing God into my conscious reality, inviting more and more of that, so that it's not that separateness of what I grew up with. God's over here or up there or wherever. And I'm just little me here on earth trying to get along. Well, let's go back to slide number 10. Confidence, the 11th promise. I trust the guidance I receive from my higher power and come to believe in my own capabilities. Communication. As I continue to connect with my inner child and my higher power on a more intimate basis, I have a confidence in my being because I know how loved I am by God, no matter what. And what is happening for me also is that I know how loved I am by my inner child. She was very disappointed in me when I first started doing my work in CoDA because I wasn't a great mama bear. I didn't like getting angry. I didn't, it's kind of whatever. Don't want to go there. But it's just, I had all my codependent survival skills that I was still using. And which mainly came from my teen, because she was trying to protect her. So I have my teen and my child both have much more confidence in me. And it's mainly because of my relationship with my higher power, which for me was brought back from her vantage point. She's the one that brought that loving higher power to me. She came into this world already knowing what love was. It just got skewed and it became dangerous for her in man's version of love. When I hear my brain saying, I can't do this, which is exactly what happened the first time I was asked to speak, I shared this with God and asked him, will you help me be with this? Help me do this. Help me with this. So a lot of times, I'll just catch my brain saying that I can't do this. And a lot of times it used to be my critical parent who would step in. It was more of like, you can't do that. You can't, whatever, like I was incapable. But When I find myself once in a while saying, I can't do this, I share this with God and ask him, will you help me with this? If I don't hear anything, maybe I'm not meant to do it. But if it's just my fear talking, and this is another time when I have to discern, is it really fear or is it excitement of trying something new? Is it excitement over stretching my wings and getting outside my usual boundaries? Because I tend to confuse those and I gyp myself. I've missed so many wonderful opportunities out of fear rather than taking it and understanding it as excitement. But if it is just the fear talking or what I think is fear, I ask God literally, speak up, please. Speak up, God, because I'm afraid that if this is your will, I'm willing to walk through the fear with you by my side. So if this is excitement, if this is something that you want me to do, I will do it afraid, is the bottom line. I'm willing to do it afraid because I know I'm not doing it alone. And you will do for me what I cannot do. And that's how my confidence in myself grows, because I get outside of my comfort zone, but I don't do it by myself. I'm not walking on that high wire by myself. God's holding me all the way. Intuition, trusting my gut, my heart. How do I know God's will? I love this question. I hear it a lot. I may not always know when I'm in God's will. That's why my motto is, I'm assuming we're on the same page until I hear otherwise. And sometimes I'm directed to do something, go somewhere, or call someone. How? It just pops up in my head. And the idea surprises me. When something pops up in my head and the idea surprises me, you can call it an angel, you can call it your higher power. That's who I choose to call. All I know is that I need to pay attention. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about my ex-husband, whom I live with, and that's just, it is what it is. Other people have heard me talk about that. That was another big surprise. I was working. The working environment was such that I had a big landing basically outside a bedroom for my office, and I was working away. And Don had a very important presentation that he had to drive an hour and a half to get to, and he had gotten up at the wee hours of the morning to make some changes and finish up the presentation. And of course, he was running late when he was leaving, and I'm just working away at my computer. And as he passed me, I felt this like wind almost. And then I felt like somebody like put a little pressure on my shoulder. And in my right ear, I heard this, he doesn't have something really important that he thinks he has. And I'm like, okay. And I still can't believe how nonplussed I was. So as I see him going downstairs, I said, do you have everything you need? And he goes, and then what popped into my head was a memory stick, because he wasn't bringing his computer. And so, of course, he's like, of course. I said, do you have your memory stick? And he said, of course I have my memory stick. It's been in my briefcase all night. And he didn't even get to finish the word night. He had changed everything about the presentation on his computer, but he did not take this memory stick out of his, sorry, out of his briefcase and reload the new presentation. So he came running back up the stairs, just did what he needed to do, and he left. And I just kept on working. Very nonplussed, like, yeah, that's how God works. But when he came home, he was just like, oh my God, if you hadn't said something, I would have driven almost 2 hours and I would have looked like an idiot because I wouldn't have had anything that they wanted to talk about on the memory stick, on my presentation. And I just looked at him and said, well, God loves you. I was just listening, you know. So I love those kinds of events, and little things can happen, especially that's why I bring my higher power traffic and stuff. So sometimes I'll go a different way, and then I can see there's a reason for it. It's just little things, but it's not little. I like to take signs like I have an appointment, I'm running a little late, and boom, a parking space opens up right where I need to go. And I'm like, I always thank God, thank you. I call them little God winks, that they're little things, and now I've come to kind of expect them. That's what I was saying earlier in the presentation. When I live my life more open and not with my blinders on as to way I think the way things should be or whatever, I see funny things that happen. People are funny. I mean, we people are funny. And so it's very entertaining. And sometimes it's sad, and sometimes there's opportunities to help, and sometimes but there's always something going on. And if I'm living on a more conscious level. I've told this story too, but it was just a great way to connect. I'm running into the store because I had forgotten like 3 things, and it was like coffee, bread, milk, coffee, bread, milk. It was actually cream. And I'm muttering it to myself because I don't want to forget one of them, and I don't have my list. So when I get to the half and half area, there's another lady, and she's walking up with her cart. She's doing, chicken peanut butter creamer, chicken peanut butter. She's doing like her own list. She's whispering it out loud too. And as we saw each other, we just both burst out laughing because we were doing the exact same thing. And it was just that shared human experience that was so joyful and so wonderful, and that we could both laugh about it. And then as we separated, we both said, don't forget, what the other person was trying to remember. So these are the kind of fun ways that you can just live life. This is what I mean by living life instead of just surviving. So this is the thing. But when I hear my brain saying I can't do this, I share it with God. I ask him, will you please help me with this? And if it's just my fear talking, please speak up. Please make me feel like this is something you want me to do, and I will walk through the fear. Because I know you're by my side. I told you about the dad story. So that's how, so again, the more open I am to this, and the more I take my blinders off, and the more open my heart is, these kinds of things just happen. So no, do I always know I'm in God's will? No, but I live my life on the assumption that I'm much better at knowing when I'm not in God's will. So that's where I start, because it's much easier to discern that. Okay, number 11, God's will. I usually hear when I am not in God's will. That's the thing I was talking about, that sandpapery feeling in my gut. It's just like, a sense of someone standing near me, shaking their head going, And when I start to take action that is not in God's will, I feel that feeling of that shoving that square peg in the round hole. Then I have to pay attention and ask, are these obstacles supposed to teach me something and I'm just supposed to keep going? Or are you telling me that I'm on the wrong track? This isn't the way to go. There's another way. And I pause and I wait and I listen, because there's always an answer. I listen to my heart. But the main thing is the waiting, and having confidence in that waiting that I will get an answer. False humility. God has given each and every one of us gifts that we may know we have, or we may slowly uncover that was there all along. I ask God to use me. When I become conscious that I am being used by God, it's amazing. It's a wonderful feeling of incredible gratitude. This is when I feel the closest to God. I now know that it is a sin to discount the gifts that God has bestowed on us. A sin just means false belief. My father did not encourage or compliment or nourish my gifts when I was growing up. Neither did my mother. She was just not available. If anything, who we thought was the saner parent in the house, the head of the household, if anything, my father discouraged anything that might give you, and this is one of his phrases, give you a swelled head. Well, there was no problem there. My self-esteem was so low, I felt that I didn't have any gifts or talents. His favorite phrase when he would talk to us about things, my desires, he loved to play what he called devil's advocate. And I remember I was in my 20s when I finally said to him, aren't you tired of being the devil's advocate? I would never want to be the devil. Why would you want to be the devil's advocate? How about being God's advocate? He didn't like that. That was also when he said, the day I stop criticizing you, you will know that I have stopped loving you. Because he believed that criticism equaled love. Well, no wonder my little girl was scared out of her wits about love. So he was certainly successful at being the devil's advocate, because these were sinful teachings. These were not of God. And thank God for God, who wants me to be aware of the gifts that he has bestowed on me. And he wants me to use them for good. These are gifts. That's what gifts are. I don't, they're not of me. But if God gives me a gift, I'm not going to say I don't have it. That's silly. I'm going to give God credit. Coming to believe. With God's ever available guidance, I am coming to believe every day in my own capabilities. I ask him to work in partnership with me daily so that his will may be done in me. Just for today. I don't know what he's going to want from me tomorrow more than that. And I really don't want to know now. I used to. That was one of my addictions. My poor sponsor has to say all the time over and over again. Figuring it out is not one of the steps. Figuring it out is not one of the steps because I want to figure everything out. I'm addicted to control, to fear. So if I can live as I practice this conscious contact every day, one day at a time, this is how I come to believe. And it takes, and I can pray for willingness, and I can pray for the gift of discipline. The gift of discipline is discipline. And it's just in the doing. So I thank you guys very much. That's all. I wanted to leave a lot of time, which I hope we have for questions and especially your shares. I learned so much from you. So if anybody has anything they want to share about the meditation, noticing any resistance, anything, this is a meeting. Please open your hearts and your minds and feel free to share. Love you. Thank you very much for being here today.